Jonathan Manthorpe, our guest. He's an international affairs columnist, a seasoned journalist, foreign correspondent, and he's been to so many places, Asia, Africa, and stationed. How does this situation in Libya compare to other times we've been involved with no-fly zones and things like that?
I guess probably the best comparison is former Yugoslavia in the 1990s, 80s and 90s. Now, I wasn't there. I was in Africa at the time, but from what I know about it, that strikes me as being the most similar situation where Europe and the NATO decided to intervene. There wasn't a no-fly zone imposed over there for humanitarian reasons to try to stop the ethnic cleansing and all the things that were going on there. So I would suspect that the Bosnia-Herzegovina and the former Yugoslav example will be the one that many of the ministers in meeting in Brussels today, tomorrow, will have in front of them, and they'll be looking for precedents there that they can use in this situation in Libya.
What do you think so far with how President Obama has responded to this, and what does it mean to his future, do you think?
Well, I think it's a very difficult situation for him. He's already involved in 2 wars and trying to extricate himself from those, both of them in Muslim countries. He's got huge economic problems beyond comprehension. He's coming up to his midterm, or maybe the end of his term in office, and this is a really difficult one for him, I think.
Sure, and the John McCain's a little more hawkish certainly than Obama, saying clearly we are on the side of the rebels. Clearly we're on the side of the rebels, so making
but also some key Democrats as well.
Oh,
of course.
Yeah, John Kerry, Lieberman.
Yeah. Well, independent,
yeah, and there's somebody else in there.
No, so there's a fair body of democratic thought that wants intervention of one sort or another as well. But it's pretty clear to me that Obama and the people closest to him are trying to find some way of avoiding that, or else doing it in a way where it's not seen as an American intervention, that it's a UN intervention or it's a NATO intervention with US very much in the background.
Sure, but you say the chances of that are slim.
I think they're slim.
What about Britain, Cameron?
He's
Sarkozy,
backtracked.
France,
well, Sarkozy,
Germany.
Sarkozy is playing all sorts of funny games. He's today said he recognizes the rebel council as the voice of the Libyan people, and there are stories from France that he's going to propose bombing Gaddafi's headquarters. Now, I think it's very easy for him to say all that in the firm knowledge that it's not going to get anywhere. The Germans are very cautious about what they're going to back. The British too. Cameron has backtracked a great deal from backing the no-fly zone a few days ago. They're going to be taking their measure from the Americans, no doubt, and so I suspect that we're going to see small steps at best.
But it's one thing to back it verbally.
Yeah.
It's another thing to back it with aircraft and bombs.
Yeah, I mean, Sarkozy is not going to send in the French Air Force by itself. He's not.
Doubt that.
Doubt it.
But the U.S. does have an Air Force that could go in.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Headlines today. Rebels suffer heavy casualties. We know that. This one, Gaddafi lashes out at the West. Leader says colonialists after his oil.
Well, he always uses that one because, of course, Libya has a history of colonialism. It was an Italian colony, and of course, this large part of the Second World War fought backwards and forwards through places like Tripoli and Tobruk and Benghazi and so on and so forth. And in fact, a lot of the tactics that are being used in the current fighting are ones that were very familiar from the Second World War. So one can understand why he does that. But most Western countries are perfectly happy to let the energy, oil, gas market work, and there's no real necessity to actually control a place like Libya in order to have access to its oil and gas. So it's nonsense, but it's an attempt to rouse some local support.
Yes, and raise the price of gas.
Well,
here in British Columbia, we can make a direct link. Perhaps. Over to Egypt for a moment. I know there were 13 deaths yesterday in the square, unrest there with the democracy movement.
Yeah. Not moving very fast. I think people, the euphoria has begun to die down, and people realize that they still actually have a military regime in place, military regime in which is saying, okay, well, we may have some elections later in the year, but unclear what sort of, whether that would actually produce a democratic government. We've got some people, El Baradei, former guy from the Atomic Energy Authority, saying he's going to be a candidate. We'll probably have Amir Moussa, Secretary General of the Arab League. Still very unclear whether they'll actually get to form a civilian government.
And how is this affecting the rest of
well,
the Arab
Egypt
world?
is an important one because
Egypt,
it's very important because it's the largest Arab country and very significant. But we've still got things bubbling on in Yemen. The president there today is saying, well, he will back a move from presidential power to parliamentary power. Nobody on the street believes him. Everything's carrying on and chaotically as usual. Still problems in Bahrain, where you have the religious divide between the Shia and the Sunni. Still problems in Oman, which is a bit of a surprise. But and still reports of some unrest in Saudi Arabia, although I would be very surprised if that cut loose in any serious way.
BBC journalists attacked. 3 of them?
Yep.
What was that about?
Well, they're from the BBC Arab service. They're TV reporters.
Like Al Jazeera service?
Well,
no.
well, not Al Jazeera, but the BBC Arab, Arab language service. And they were stopped at a roadblock not all that far from Tripoli. They were trying to get through to a place called Zawira. They were taken to a detention center. They were beaten. They were held there for about 23 hours or so, and they were put through some mock executions and then sort of shoved out the door finally. But of course it was an incredibly stupid thing to do because now we've got some first-hand reports of what is going on in these detention centers, and it is clearly appalling what Gaddafi's guys are doing to detained people there. So and this may feed into the humanitarian mix of justifications.
Very much so. Very much so. We'll be watching what's happening in Brussels, as you will. Thank you. Jonathan Manthorpe, you can read him in the Vancouver Sun and on his blog, Dispatches.